It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
Okay, hello again, everybody, and welcome in PJ Show on this Tuesday, 25th day of June, as we inch closer and closer to the July 4th holiday. It's nice to have you along for the ride on this warm but comfortable by comparison Tuesday. Tomorrow's going to be hell. Triple digits tomorrow. Even here at the Working Man's Beach, it's going to be a sizzler. Philip the Ref Pilkington is inland on our world headquarters, the Radio Ranch, as it were, in Greenville. Mr. Pilkington, hello to you. Great job today on Talk of the Town, as you were the producer and key contributor this morning to the Political Roundtable.
Well, how are you doing, Patrick? Because I'm doing pretty well. And as you know, you can't have a Political Roundtable without me putting my 2 cents in. You know, I don't know how to be quiet, so.
We had Benny Hardy, who's great guy. I love Benny. Benny's a big sports fan, big ECU guy, big college baseball fan, and just a great dude, smart guy. And, you know, Benny is, I would say, conservative politically, but pretty astute. You know, I mean, he's practical. But I would put him in he and his old colleague, Tom Lamprecht, who I also admire greatly. And I think you're right of those guys, which I didn't know if that was possible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with Tom. I don't think Benny's as far right as Tom. Benny's kind of more of a.
I don't know though. Benny's got some. Because Benny's practical doesn't mean he's not.
That's true.
You know, really conservative. I mean, Benny's very conservative.
Yeah, he's almost.
But, you know,
he said some stuff to me. It almost makes it seem he's a little more libertarian than Republican, but that's still obviously.
Well, maybe.
Right.
Maybe so. Maybe so. But let's see here. I've got somebody calling me here. Tell them I'm on the air. I'm on the air. I'm on the air. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I see you waving. Were you being FaceTimed?
Yeah, I was being FaceTimed.
Are you a 14-year-old girl? You're being FaceTimed?
I could be a 14-year-old girl, yes. You don't use FaceTime? I hear better with FaceTime than I do on the phone.
No, I don't. If I FaceTime, it's because I need someone to see.
Do you have an Apple phone? Do you have an iPhone? I have an iWatch.
Yeah. The text you send me
your
blue.
That.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's the only thing blue about you. Hey,
Hey, that was good.
Slow on the uptick. All right. So Cliff Godwin's going to be on the show today. Looking forward to having Coach CG with us to talk about the state of college baseball. Tennessee winning their first national championship last night. These are obviously the best teams that money could buy last night, and I think that's been the case the last few years. Pilk, I'm of the opinion that baseball could really, I mean, football, yes. Obviously, there's going to be a disparity with the tippy-top paying programs and NIL and this, you know, paying athletes, et cetera. That's going to be problematic in football. I think basketball, there's enough still where, at least in the short term, we may not lose the essence of March Madness. We may not lose the essence of an FAU being able to have a top 10 year, or a FAU type of team having a top 10 year, or Memphis maybe, or, you know, someone like that, San Diego State, whomever. But I do believe quite honestly that baseball might, behind football, might be the sport that takes the biggest blow as far as parity goes. Because and we know this from the conference we're in, not everybody takes the baseball as seriously as East Carolina. Not everybody takes baseball as seriously as some teams in the ACC and the SEC do, even in their own conferences, but especially in a lot of these other conferences. And so if there's no if there's no budgetary commitment to speak of from a university, there's sure as heck not going to be an NIL commitment. And so I think the days of I shouldn't say I think. I hope the days of teams like last year was it Oral Roberts that got to the College World Series? We've seen Coastal win one. We've seen Citadel win. I mean, in other words, there's been some variance there. I know it's been all SEC the last 6 or 7 years, but I just hope we're not getting to the point where it's going to be the SEC and everybody else, maybe a few ACC. I mean, it was the ACC-SEC Challenge in Omaha this year.
Unfortunately, Patrick, I think you're right because, like you said, teams, baseball doesn't make money, so what is the incentive to put money into baseball? Well, there are certain schools that are going to have so much money they're not really going to care. It's not really going to hurt them.
Of money, and that's why. And why.
Those are going to be the schools that can do it. And to your point, take the Big Ten, for example. If Michigan wants to put that money into baseball to hang with these teams, they could.
They'll be great.
Yeah.
Right.
Northwestern's not going to. They're just not.
No.
So,
I mean, UCLA and USC may, and they may be the better teams in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah.
But even they're not going to be put because their dynamics and budget is about to change dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
Dramatically. So Cliff Godwin on that coming up. Looking forward to talking to him. Last night, Philip Pilkington's Carolina Panthers. Looks like they're going to be in Charlotte for the foreseeable future. The Charlotte City Council voted to approve a joint $800 million stadium renovation plan with the Panthers that ties the NFL team to the city for the next 20 years. They have a 15-year buyout. But at least for 20 years, this agreement in principle. The city will pay $650 million towards the renovation of B of A in return for Panthers owner David Tepper keeping the team in Charlotte through 2045. Tepper will pay the remaining $150 million up front. How do you feel about that, Pilkington?
It stinks because I heard Mike Florio of NBC Sports did a really good piece on this today where he goes, if you would put this on the ballot, it would lose, right? The Charlotte citizens would not vote to do this. Now you got about 1 million people, so it's really only $650 a person, so it's really not that much when you look at it from that standpoint. But look, he would have, had they not approved it, he would have tried to take the team somewhere else, and if they would have gone with the same way, like letting the citizens vote on it, those same citizens would have, in any other city, would have said, no, don't come here. So, but some other city would have said, hey, we're going to bypass letting the citizens vote, such as Mecklenburg County did, and said, hey, or the Charlotte City Council, and said, hey, we're just going to do it so that we can get the team. So, when a guy's worth $20 billion, does he really need $650 million? No. When the team sucks, should he be worried about what the stadium looks like? No. But to your point, that's the unfortunate thing. It's only happening in the NFL, which is frustrating, right? Like, this isn't happening as much in other sports. Yes, it happened with the Hornets the first time they picked up and moved to New Orleans. But, look, you and I are the perfect example to do this because our two favorite baseball teams have the oldest stadiums in the United States. When you go to Wrigley, could you give a rat's butt that it's 109 years old?
No, but the ownership has done some upgrade things to Wrigley Field, as they have in Boston as well. I mean, they've modernized it with the times. But I think those are two very unique situations. And there's also been discussion, at least in Chicago, of, could the Cubs – I don't know how serious, but could the Cubs wind up in the suburbs or something like that? I mean, that's been a discussion point at times. I don't know what it has ever been like in Boston. Because I just don't follow that, obviously, because I'm not a fan like you are. So you would know that better. I think the thing that makes has made the thing unique about Charlotte, there's two things at play here. Kind of like we're seeing with Kansas right now, trying to lure the Royals and the Chiefs out of Missouri into Kansas. Of course, a lot of this got poo-pooed on when Tepper pulled up stakes in that South Carolina practice facility deal. But there is a possibility that you could relocate somewhere across the border.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is, don't know how likely it was now, but I think that's it. And then Charlotte has designs. The city and Tepper have designs on hosting a Super Bowl. And this, in their mind, allows them to do that, to host a Super Bowl. Because they'll show the NFL hey, look at the money we're putting in on Bank of America Stadium. We're in a southern climate, so it's not going to be a snowstorm unless it's some, freak weather ordeal. So look what we can do. And so I think Charlotte as a city and the Panthers as a franchise want to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I see that, and that is a huge income. There's probably no bigger one-day event when it look at revenue than the Super
Well,
Bowl.
it's a week. It's not
Well,
even a
it is,
one-day
but
event, it's a week.
it's centered around one day. It's not the Final Four, which is a multi-day event. So I do get that, and I get at the end of the day you got to make business decisions. But look, at this point, I want to see that money on the field. Now, obviously, that they view it. They're in for the business. They need to see more than just wins. But at the end of the day, I don't care if I'm in a crap stadium. All I care about is wins.
Pilk,
and
you
losses.
would if you were in a dump. I mean, and see, that's the thing. I
Yeah.
don't think Bank of America Stadium is a dump.
That's the thing. It's not. Is it? I wouldn't even call it outdated. It's just not like as modern. But there's nothing outdated about it. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be, in a third world country when you go to the bathroom, you're doing it in a hole in the ground. But, I mean, you don't want that. But we don't have that. We're good. I mean, look, I've been to some dump stadiums, and they stink. But I know if I was a fan of those teams, would I care that much? Probably not. But also, I'm a diehard. And not everybody is. But I don't know. I'm fine with it. I really am. I'm glad they're not moving. I was worried that the jerk was going to buy the team and move the team. I know the value of our PSLs went down tremendously when he bought the team because there was rumors of him moving it. So at least now they're here for the next 20 years. Those are back up probably. I haven't talked to my dad since this got approved, but I'm sure they are. So that's good. But and then it's like, well, they could still move in 15 years. Why the heck would you move? What's up with all this moving crap? It's like worse than it was in the 30s.
The reason I don't think they would move is, again, they have a design in that 15 years at least to try to host a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're going to start to see Charlotte bid to be a Super Bowl city. Have they done the draft in Charlotte?
No, they haven't.
So that would be the first thing I think you would probably see, especially if they could get their deal with the practice facility ironed out. But that wouldn't be anywhere near the Uptown. So the city would have to get really behind the idea of we're going to shut down most of the Uptown to hold the NFL draft.
No.
And you know the layout of that much better than I do. So I mean, where they could do that and how that would look. But I think that's the first thing you're going to see them try to lure to Charlotte, and that's a very likely possibility. I mean, weather-wise, again, it's a time of year where, relatively speaking, the weather should be decent.
It should be, but here's the thing: you do not have to close down downtown to the draft. We have the U.S. National Whitewater Center there. That's got ample land. You wouldn't have to shut down any cities. And here's the coolest thing. There's a 400-foot zip line. So you put the green room on top of the zip line and have the players zip line down to the stage.
I don't think they're going to let them do that, Pilk. I think you'd have too much of a Lords of London policy you'd have to take out from my friends at Burns Wilcox.
Yeah.
Who cares? These teams that are drafting and
it's
spending
a
money
zip
on these
line.
busts.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, it is
Come
a zip
on.
line.
No, I know. That was what someone had suggested. But no, you're 100% right. They would have to do it downtown. They'd have to close off some stuff. Everything you said's right. I was just being a dork.
72-seat, 1,000 stadium is B of A. Good bones, according to the article, which, I mean, Pilk just said. Tepper's the wealthiest owner in the NFL at $20.6 billion, according to Forbes. The renovations are expected to be completed by 2029. This is nothing, and I haven't looked today to see what happened, but I know in Jacksonville they were making a decision there about whether they were going to do the stadium of the future, which is Everbank Stadium there where the Jags play, and that is a $1.4 billion project that the Kahn family wanted the city of Jacksonville to foot half of, and that's a ton of money. And the people in Jacksonville were crying boo on that one because and I don't think the terms were quite as friendly as far as length of commitment that the team would stay, because there's always this cloud hanging over Jacksonville that the Cons are going to move the team to Europe or to England. Unlike Jacksonville, it sounds like the Panthers will be able to play games in Charlotte during the course of these renovations and do other events.
Oh yeah, gotta have concerts. Gotta have concerts. Just ask Tepper. Can't cancel concerts.
Gotta have somewhere to have George Strait. But or Beyonce, but they are talking about in Jacksonville, for example, Pilkington, that Jacksonville may have to play their games at the Speedway in Daytona or in Orlando at the stadium there. So I mean, now they're doing a completely different renovation. I mean, they're almost building a new stadium practically there. I'm anxious to see what this is. We'll try to get somebody on this week from Charlotte to talk about this. All right, Cliff Godwin is going to be with us coming up. So we'll have him next, the head coach of the baseball Pirates. ECU coming off a regular season conference championship. They hosted an NCAA regional. We'll talk to Cliff Godwin about everything going on in Pirate baseball right after these words on the Patrick Johnson Show here on 94.3 The Game, 94.3thegame.com, and the IBX Media app.
Toyotas are on the move at Greenville Toyota. Get into a new RAV4, only $299 a month. Or check out the all-new redesigned 2025 Camry, now in stock and ready for delivery. Plus, every vehicle comes with our advantage at Greenville Toyota.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Dum-dum-dum. Get low, get low, get low. 369, ooh, she fine. Hoping she can sing it to me one more time. Get low, get low, get low, get low.
Grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild. When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very special place and make it easy for families to enjoy all that this coastal lifestyle has to offer. Be inspired. Bow Coast West.
Go to Greenville Toyota, where inventory is on the move. And get moving in a new Corolla for just $209 a month, or a Highlander for only $399 a month. Plus, get cash on the spot for your old vehicle, or trade in for a new Toyota.
Have you noticed he's in his own little happy hour? We're back to the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
This is the Happy Hour program.
Here's the P-Man.
Cliff Godwin joining us here on the Patrick Johnson Show today as we talk about the season that was and look ahead to the season that will be, and talk all about Pirate baseball. CG in the house with us here, looking good, looking tan, looking rested. Coach, it's a 20. It's funny. I've talked to Cy Seymour about this, and our guy Mike Mullis, and other people. For you guys now, and I mean, it's the same thing with Coach Schwartz and everything. It's almost 365 practically now. I mean, there's no off season.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, it's funny. Obviously, you have an abrupt ending to the season, and nobody's expecting us to lose on that Monday, and then it happens. And, you've got, I normally take the day after, have the guys over to my house. They can jump in the pool. We get together for one last time, feed them. And you have that day. And then Wednesday, you start exit interviews, and boom, you got guys that are obviously leaving your program. And I've got donors text me, hey, you need to take a couple days off. And I'm like, you can't take a couple days off right now, or you're not going to be very good in 2025. So we'll get some downtime here once we get by the draft and all that good stuff. But then you have your incoming guys, which they showed up last Wednesday. They started summer school on Thursday. You have to send out scholarship papers of the guys that are on your team or non-renewals on July 1st, but the portal doesn't close until July 2nd at 11:59. Then the draft is on July 14th, 15th, 16th. So when you talk about a disaster of a setup for the NCAA and for baseball coaches, it's a disaster. I mean, it's as bad of a setup it could be from the timing of everything. Now, at least they have made the portal a little bit shorter than it was in the previous summers, because you would look up in August 1st, you were still trying to figure out who was going to exactly be on your roster the last piece or two, and school started on the 19th. So hopefully by like the end of July this year, which is not a lot earlier, we'll know who's going to be on our team going into the fall.
But I mean, is it now a year-to-year thing in the sense that, okay, I know I'm getting player A in, and I know I've got a year where I can maybe redshirt him. I know I've got a year where he can maybe play behind an incumbent, learn from that incumbent, and, then I've got him for 2.5, 3 years. I mean, is it just that we're in an all-new world now and that's out?
Well, I wouldn't say it's totally out. I mean, you still have the Trey Savages and Carter Cunninghams of the world, and even Colby Wallace, who played some, but I'm sure he would have wanted to play more. I mean, he's a huge piece to the future of our program, but he's coming back. Walker Barron, same thing. Ethan Norby probably, played as much as any freshman, obviously. He's coming back. D'Lo's coming back. So you still have guys that do that. Riley Johnson, I mean, I'm sure he could have went somewhere and made more money than what he's making at East Carolina. And while I'm talking about NIL and money, and I'm sure you're going to answer this, but I need everybody to understand that baseball is much different than football and basketball. And what I mean by that is none of our guys are on a full ride. You only have 11.7 scholarships in baseball to spread out over 32 players. You can have 40 guys on your roster, but only 32 can receive any athletic aid from East Carolina University. So like you look at last year's team, Joey Barini had never received $1 of scholarship at East Carolina. Justin Wilcoxon got 25% scholarship in his 5th year, but none before that. Turner Brown was on 25%. Alec Burleson was on 33. Packard was on 25. Brickhouse was on 25. I'm just naming really good players on our team. Nobody gets a full ride. So when we have NIL stuff, it is just to try to cover costs of these families, because you can't even get your foot in the door with a decent player now if they're not coming to school and they're not coming out of pocket for any financial money. So, but we're not paying players on top of what a full ride is, if that makes sense. So we're not football and basketball. We're just trying to cover costs for the guys that are on our team.
Coach Cliff Godwin's with us here. Do you see that, I mean, do you see the full scholarship, or are things just so screwy with what could happen in the NCAA that won't be the case? I mean, I know they're talking about scholarship limits in football and doing away with walk-ons, all in an effort to, brace for having to pay athletes, a salary at some of these colleges.
Well, you know what I would tell people, to be careful what you ask for. Everybody wanted this portal. Everybody wanted NIL. Well, what I see, PJ, coming down the pipeline is kind of what minor league baseball did. Now, I could be wrong, but everybody wanted minor league players to get more money, which they deserved. And I think everybody would agree with that. Well, what did Major League Baseball do? They just cut the teams. So you have less people. Yeah. But you got less people, but they're not really coming out of pocket as far as a bottom line budget, a lot more money, maybe a little bit. I don't know specifically, but what they did was that they just cut the low A and the rookie ball teams or short season teams. And so you have less minor league players in professional baseball. It's harder to play professional baseball today than it's ever been, because they've limited the number of minor league players that are in the system.
Cliff Godwin's with us here. When a player makes the decision, and maybe it's case by case, to enter the portal, is that a conversation they have with you and the other coaching members actively? I'm not asking you to necessarily get into specifics unless you want to, but I mean, generally, is that handled the right way, or are some of the guys you find out when we find out?
Everybody has told me that they were leaving face to face except one player last summer. Everybody else has, and it was not. AMAC had a conversation with me, so I don't want people to think it was AMAC. He had a conversation with me, but there was one
Right.
player last summer that we had to find out from compliance that he entered the portal. But they're all different. They're all different. It's just one story of an individual this past year. He's in my pool on Tuesday afternoon eating our food, and walks in Wednesday morning and says he's going into the portal, and didn't say thank you for anything. And I looked at him and said, sounds good. So I'm handling it a lot better because, at the end of the day, if they don't want to be here, that's fine. ECU baseball's been here for a lot of years and been super successful before I was the head coach here. And it's going to continue to be successful. And we're going to have the right people in the locker room that are pulling on the end of the rope that believe in something a little bit bigger than themselves, just as I do. Because if I didn't believe in this place or in the people that are around this place and our coaches and our players, guess what? You'd be talking to a different head coach at East Carolina. But I don't run for the money. So if I did, I would not be the coach here. And if people don't understand that, that's fine. But I'm here because I choose to be here.
I'm sure you get overtures. It's been sort of infamously mentioned you were tied to the South Carolina job. There's people that saying, and again, how much you want to get into, you're certainly entitled to do that, but I have to ask the question. Is that a job that you talked with them about and turned down, or how far did that get?
I'm not going to get into specifics. I got too much respect for Ray Tanner. There were definitely conversations that were had, and, I'm just going to leave it at that, but just know this, if I didn't want to be here, I would not be here. But I want to be here. I am an East Carolina Pirate. I believe in this place. I believe in the core group that we got coming back. I believe in these incomers that are already here, that are super talented, and the guys that we're adding. We had a really big commitment. I can't talk about it on Saturday. That we didn't offer the kid the most money. Another school did, but he still chose East Carolina. So those are the guys that we want to be in our program, that believe in something that's bigger than themselves, and they want to come. Look, our coaching staff, and you can say, well, Cliff, you're the head coach. Of course, our coaching staff's the best coaching staff in the country. Am I biased because I work? But they're unbelievable human beings, number one, but they're very knowledgeable about any aspect of the game that you need to talk to them about. And when they care about this place as much as I do, and they coach the players like that, we're going to be successful. And people that don't believe in culture in a very transactional world, then hey, so be it. But East Carolina doesn't write the biggest checks in football, basketball, or baseball. So how are you going to win if we're not writing the biggest checks and you believe in NIL as the end-all be-all? And I'll get off my soapbox on that, but we're not writing the biggest checks. So you have to have a relationship with Trey Savage. He has to believe in the place to stay here. And guess what? He's going to make millions of dollars in a couple weeks, millions, because he bet on himself instead of running for money at the immediate source last summer. He would have made hundreds of thousands of more dollars than he made at East Carolina. He didn't make any money here. He covered his costs, maybe made a little bit, but it wasn't much because he's an out-of-state student and he was on 25% scholarship last year. So, he had to bet on himself, and it paid off.
And you could go somewhere else and it not work out. So anything could happen. I mean, anything could happen anywhere, as we know. But I mean, I think that also speaks to how confident he was in what you all had built with him and what the program's fabric is, quite honestly. So I think that's a really good point. With a guy like you, Savage, I mean, you can point to that success, and others too. Gavin, I mean, there's plenty you can point to who've come through the program. I mean, Bryson Worrell is probably one of the best stories in baseball, in professional baseball. I mean, everybody, he'll be lucky to latch on. He got on, and he just continues to move his way up. I mean, that's a hell of a story. These are things that you might go somewhere else. You might take or consider going somewhere else and take money. But there's no guarantee here. If you put in the work, you got a great opportunity.
Well, I mean, you look, and I think, AK told me this the other day, and I don't like bragging on myself, but 4 of the last 5 drafts, I think, or 3 of the 4, don't quote me exactly on this, but we've had a day 1 pitcher taken. It's pretty good, man. If you want to be a pitcher, you come to our place, you're going to develop. But you also look at Alec Burleson. He wasn't a draft prospect out of high school, not at all. I mean, hell, the first time I saw him, I was like, he can't even play at East Carolina. And he just kept rolling on us. And, of course, because he pitched, we took him. And then next thing you know, he's in the big leagues as a hitter. And he would tell you he developed here. Connor Norby was not a prospect coming out of high school from a professional standpoint. And he's already played in the big leagues. I mean, he was a 21 draft. It's crazy. So, and Burley's putting together an unbelievable year. This past weekend, it was awesome. I got to watch him hit 2 jacks on TV. It was amazing.
When Bryant Packard was a guy, too, that probably was going to be a big league guy. Now, he was pretty highly heralded. I only bring him up because he finished the first year with you, and you credited him a lot this year with the success of the team. How cool was it to have a guy like that back? And there's some other players, I guess, that are kind of back and connected to the program as well.
Yeah, so, having Pack around, he's out there working Little League camp right now, and Franny, really, it's come full circle to me. Yep. I'd never thought that you just don't think you get to an age where your former players that played for you at East Carolina, who were really good players, they want to get into coaching, and they're going to be back around helping your program. And for me, you couldn't have 2 better individuals as human beings, but also like a ton of knowledge of hitting and other aspects of the game. And having those guys around and just listening to them talk and the passion that they have for this place is another reason that I'm here at East Carolina, because they make me smile when I see them come in the facility, because I know how much this place means to them. And then they're pouring that into our guys that are on our team now, which is really, really special.
How close are we to the groundbreaking and everything with the stadium expansion and the locker room expansion, et cetera?
Yeah. I hope I'm okay to say this. I mean, John Gilbert's told me so. It's just got to get approved by the Board of Governors and the Board of Trustees, but we feel really confident that they're going to start breaking ground in January, because obviously the approval process takes a little bit of time to go through all that stuff. So that'll happen this fall, and they'll break ground in January.
And then how long is the construction on that?
Probably a year, PJ. I mean, I'm not the person to probably ask that, but it's definitely a year. So it will not affect us playing wise, but it will affect us because they're cutting out all the underneath stuff. So, we might have to work out of a different locker room and stuff, which, hey, to grow, you've got to be uncomfortable at times. So we'll be, out of a locker room for a couple months, whatever, we'll make it work.
With the Cliff Godwin's with us here. With the injuries and the kind of the weird injuries at the end of the year, when you look back on it, I mean, it's what it could have, should have. But if you'd remained healthy, it seemed like that, from a pitching standpoint, you were poised to be really set up really, really strong for a late postseason run. Again, you're not harping on it, but as you reflect back on the year, is that's kind of how I look at it as, boy, this team had everything going for it. And if they just had caught some breaks on the injury front, they might have broke through to Omaha this year. And we're poised to do it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know everybody wants to play in Omaha. I can promise you that nobody wants to knock down that door more than me. You would only understand it if you played here. So some fans have not played here. I made the last out in the Super Regional in 2001. And if you don't think it burns in my brain, I was a time run at the plate. It was a 1-0 count. I was sitting on a changeup. I got it. I skied the ball to second base. You're talking about, not even a quarter of an inch, something way smaller than that. If I swing just a little bit differently, I tie the game. And then as a coach, obviously we've been very close a few times and it hasn't happened. And look, people can be critical of myself, our program, whatever. I've got one person to answer to, and that's the big man up top and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'd be lying to you if it doesn't bother me when people are critical of us, because I know how hard I individually work to try to get us to where we're trying to go every single year. I know what our staff puts into it. I know what our players put into it. And it's hard because nobody's done it more consistently. Take out Omaha out of it than we have over the past, 6 years, 44 games. We win every year or more for 6 straight years, won the conference regular season 5 years in a row, 3.4 team GPA or higher. I know that's what some people don't want to hear. They just want to go to Omaha. Well, we're also developing great human beings, and that's the relationship part that will last forever, that they'll be able to come back and bring their families to and have pride in it. I always wonder, these kids that transfer schools 1, 2, 3 times, where are you taking your family to? Like, when you take your family to, like, what college are you taking them to bring them back and go, hey, look what I was a part of? And, the guys I played with get to come back and show their families Clark LeClaire and how much it's grown. And we were just a small piece of the group that got the money raised for Clark LeClaire Stadium. And it's just continued to grow. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to develop people as well as baseball players. And, if there comes a time when, somebody doesn't want us to do that, then they can move in a different direction.
It's difficult and you laid out the consistency there. And I think people say, you can go ahead and book East Carolina for this many wins well, no, you got to go out and play the games and win them. But when you look at the landscape right now, and you've talked about this a little bit here with me today, is it more difficult to break that door down and get through now than maybe it's been at any point in your time here? Just knowing what, like, the 2 teams that vied for the championship allegedly have for their NIL budget, not just their budget, their NIL budget. I mean, is it more difficult?
It's definitely more difficult, not even to get there, to just stay consistent as we've stayed consistent. I mean, I think just go look across the country. LSU won the national championship last year. They're 2 seed and lose to North Carolina in a regional championship. They don't even host their own regional. Like, that's LSU. They've got a lot of money on the field. Ole Miss won the national championship 2 years ago. They haven't been to a regional in 2 years. Like, that sounds crazy to me even to say it out loud, but that's the reality of the landscape. Mississippi State did go to a regional this year, but, won the national championship. I guess it's been 3 years ago now. And I don't think they made the SEC tournament the previous 2 years up until this year. So it's hard. It's hard to win college baseball games. The game's older. I mean, Evansville had 3 or 4 24-year-olds. Ethan Norby's 18. That matters when you're 24 years old versus an 18-year-old. I mean, that's 6 years of physical and mental maturity, regardless of your talent level. So it's just made everything a little bit harder. Then you got the portal, and then you got NIL, and you got all kinds of stuff and it's not like kids have to say, hey, I have to let you know by a certain date if I'm leaving. They just walk into your office and say, hey, I'm leaving, and then you got to figure it out. I mean, sometimes you have an idea, but sometimes you have no idea. And that makes it a lot more difficult for a coaching staff to manage rosters.
Is there any I know you were kind of displeased with the way certain things went down in Clearwater. Has there been any discussion about making it?
What part? Me getting suspended or Dixon getting thrown out? Or hey, we could go through a myriad of things here, but we ain't got enough time, DJ, for that.
Right. A few things, Coach, a few things. But has there been any discussion about modifying that format? So whether it's East Carolina or if it's somebody else who wins the regular season, they're not having to come out of that and turn around. I know that was one of the things you hope would be addressed. Has that ball advanced up the field?
It's not going to be brought up until Coach Godwin calls the conference office, and I've tried to let some time pass. I haven't called the conference office yet. So, and look, we have a head coaches meeting in August at some point in time. It's a Zoom, but it'll definitely be something that's brought up, because at the end of the day, at least the past couple of years, I mean, really, we're the only team that's vying for, to host or to be in a regional before the conference tournament's played. And that's not a knock against anybody else. It's just, that's been the reality of it. So why would you not want to protect your number 1 seed a little bit more from the standpoint of, we're playing on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like everybody else, and then you're flipping around and playing on Tuesday. Well, it used to not be that way back before 2018, or I guess in 18, but we had a bunch of rain. But 18 and previously, the 1 seed would play on Wednesday no matter what. So you had 2 games on Tuesday, and it was like 2-7, and I forget who the other 2 seeds were. And then on Wednesday, one played 8, and then it was that side of the bracket. Well, if you lost, then you flipped around and played the next day on Thursday. If you won, then you got a day off like we normally do. So, but that changed in 18 when there was a lot of weather coming, and we just all started playing on Tuesday. Well, then they got scared of weather, and they just wanted everybody to play on Tuesday, and I just haven't really fought it. And this year, I probably should have fought it more in the head coaches meeting, but I didn't. And, we're going to definitely discuss that in our head coaches meeting.
Would it make sense to do what the ACC's done, or is that just what's your feeling on how it just seems like there's never a good way to run a conference baseball tournament? No matter what you do, nobody's
well,
got.
I think the best solution, and I've talked about this to a couple of people, but I think it's the Sun Belt. Don't quote me on this, but if you've got 10 teams and all 10 teams are going to make the tournament, which we only let 8 make the tournament this year, then you have 7 through 10. They have a playing game on Tuesday, and then the winners play, the 1 seed and the 2 seed, and you go from there, and now it becomes a double elimination tournament. So, but at least that gives us a day, and also doesn't allow the 7, 8, 9, 10 seed to throw their number 1 against our number whatever, but it's not 1, 2, or 3. It could be our number 4, because we're not flipping around our Friday night guy from Thursday to Tuesday.
What's the conference need to do to get these teams at a higher level? And I mean, what needs to happen, because that you beat conference teams and you're losing spots in the net or what. I mean, that has to be frustrating.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, look, they just got to do a little bit better job. I don't think it's crazy, but I think South Florida, by hiring the Indiana State coach, I think they're definitely going to get better, because he's obviously done a very good job at Indiana State. And I feel like great coaches figure it out when they go to different places. And I feel like he's going to have a better talent pool in Florida than he had in Indiana for sure. And I just think, and I don't know him personally, I think he's going to definitely do it better. And I think that the teams that came in, if they'd have just had the years that they had the year before, then our conference would have had a better RPI. But it's just been really weird the past few years, because if you look back 5-6 years ago, and that was when Houston was good and we were good, but you're talking about anywhere from like the 3rd, I think was the highest, to like 5th, 6th RPI conference in the country, and we obviously have not been that the past couple of years.
What will Cliff Godwin's? Are there still slots open for your camps? What does that look like? And then what do you have planned for the rest of the summer? You've kind of peppered it in a little bit during the course of this, but what does the rest of the summer look like?
So we got 1 week of Little League camp going on right now. Little League camp is really, really sold out. We have had some different, guys back out because of All-Stars. They made the All-Star team, which is really awesome and stuff. But we have those going on. Heath Blackman runs all of our camps. A lot of our players work the camps as well, because it's another way that they can make some money, but also the kids look at our guys like big leaguers. So that's a big piece. Like I said, our new guys came in on Wednesday, so they're starting, classes already. They're already in that. They have study hall. They're doing lifting, conditioning stuff. We just actually hired a new strength coach, Hunter Reeves from Troy. Coach Wilson just wanted to get out of the college game and do some more military stuff with strength conditioning. So we were able to get that done once the season was over, because I did not do any interviews during the season. I wanted to wait till the season was over before we did that. A lot of moving parts. Of course, we're still recruiting. We do have a couple more pieces that we're looking to add out of the portal. And I know people, I don't like the portal. I think the portal is a good idea. I just don't think it's a good system. But we have to do what we need to do to put a good product on the field. And we're looking to not only get talented players, we're looking to get players that are great fits. We've already got 2 committed. Like I said, one is a local product, which we recruited out of high school, and he's a great player, but he's a great human being too, and has a great family. So that's a great fit. And the other guy, same situation, that just committed to us on Saturday. So it's more to us than just a very talented player. It has to be a good fit for us as well.
Hey, Cliff, thank you for the time. Great all season, and I appreciate it here today. I know it's a busy week for you, but I really appreciate it, and we'll see you around. Have a good summer.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Pirate head coach Cliff Godwin on the Patrick Johnson Show. Right now, Philip the Ref Pilkington with a 94-3 The Game sports update and Pirate report.
Thank you, P-Man. Starting with the most local thing today, the Carolina Panthers will be staying in Charlotte for the foreseeable future. City Council approved an $800 million renovation to the Bank of America Stadium, $650 which will come from public funds, and Tepper will front the rest of that. This will keep the team in Charlotte for the next 20 years. They are available for a buyout after 15 if the city isn't moving to build a new stadium, which would be completed around the year 2046. Last night, the Tennessee Volunteers became the first #1 overall seed since 1999 to win the College World Series. They defeated Texas A&M 6-5 in Game 3 to claim their first championship in program history. Also, the Florida Panthers got their first Stanley Cup by defeating the Edmonton Oilers 2-1 in Game 7 to avoid the reverse sweep. It was also the first Stanley Cup for head coach Paul Maurice, who is the 4th all-time winningest coach in NHL history and did have the most wins of any coach to not win a Stanley Cup until last night. Joe Gibbs Racing has announced that Chase Briscoe will drive the number 19 next season to replace Martin Truex Jr., who plans to retire at the end of this year. That'll do it for 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. We'll be back with more of the Patrick Johnson Show on the other side of this timeout.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, Newbern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
And now, the stunning conclusion of the show. It's the P-Man here on 94.3 The Game.
Great to have Cliff Godwin on. Thanks to CG for taking some time with us here. So tomorrow on the Patrick Johnson Show, there's a new book about, this is the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron's home run, and there's an author that's written a book about it. If we don't talk to him tomorrow, we're going to talk to somebody, maybe our guy out in Charlotte.
T-Bone.
Travis Hancock. Yeah, T-Bone, Travis Hancock. Maybe. Working on it. So we're going to have somebody, because I want to get a feel with this deal in Charlotte. Are people, I know, but nobody likes Tepper, but are people pretty satisfied with how this turned out in Charlotte with keeping the Panthers now for at least 15 years, likely 20? So as we know, Joey Chestnut is not participating in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest this year, right? He signed with another, and I'd be down with that. I mean, we're both free market guys, right, Pilk? We're both capitalists. So, I mean, if he had signed with Ballpark or Gwaltney or, whoever makes hot dogs other than Nathan's, right?
Yeah.
But he signed with a veggie hot dog company.
It's not a real hot dog.
I can't get down with that. I mean, if it were the lips and a-holes of another brand, I'd be down with it. I'm with you. But if it's so now, do you know that he and Kobayashi now are going to have a Labor Day hot dog eating contest on Netflix?
Yeah, I'd heard that, and I'm down for it. Look, Labor Day is one of those days where we have college football on Saturday and Sunday. Usually there's a Labor Day game Monday night, but that's kind of one of those days because baseball's, it's a travel day. You get a couple day games, but still not much special going on. Why not? Give it to us. It's the GOAT #1 against the new GOAT. Come on, I mean, why not? This is like watching LeBron and Jordan play one-on-one or something.
It kind of is. And Kobayashi, by the way, it wasn't like he just got dethroned by Chestnut. He got, suspended or something, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. It was something weird. Nathan's is messing up, man. They've lost their greatest two athletes of all time.
It's called Chestnut versus Kobayashi Unfinished Beef. I like that. I like it.
As long as they're actually eating beef and they're not eating some veggie crap, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm not going to lie to you. Veggie sausage is not bad. I've had a brand of veggie sausage years ago that I thought was actually pretty good, like a patty.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It was not bad.
I mean, I'm not saying
and
it's bad.
I don't mind a tofu in a certain situation. But, I mean, if I'm going to eat a hot dog, I don't want a veggie hot dog. The hell with that.
Yeah, and look, I'm more against it, I think, just because I'm against the people that are crazy. As much as I'm not really against it. I mean, it really, if they didn't, oh my gosh, you're eating animals.
Well, I can't believe Chestnut, though. Again, I'd be down with him if he signed a big deal to be the official hot dog connoisseur of Ballpark. I'd be down with it.
Yeah, I'd be okay, and they wouldn't have the right to kick him out then, because let's look at it. I mean, that would be like saying, hey, you signed a deal with Under Armour so you can't play in the NFL because we're Nike, right? I mean, you just can't do that.
Yeah. Right. But, I mean, a veggie hot dog, yeah, he should be kicked out. Thanks to Philip the Rep Pilkington. Great job. Thanks to Cliff Godwin for joining us. We will be back in the morning on Talk of the Town. Pilk and I will. 7 o'clock, 103.7 here in Greenville, and the IBX Media app, and then back here for the PJ Show tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock. You have a great rest of your evening, everybody.